It's 4 p.m. Stand up. It's count time. It's time for every man and woman to stand up and be counted. I'm Brother L.D. Azoba, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Count Time Podcast. Now, I know y'all see this beautiful lady sitting in front of me, and you just need to know she is a lady of elegance, class, of sophistication. I have the one and only here, and I'm so honored just to be in your presence. I have the one and only Miss Irene Elizabeth Mumford in the house.
Well,
welcome to Count Time.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here with you.
Oh, I am so honored. I'd like to thank our dear friend and brother, Mr. Charlie Granger, for making this happen. Because he wants your story to be told. Because you have an awesome story. And this young lady brings so much information, so much history, so much insight to Count Time, to Louisiana. She has a legendary father and mother that we're going to be discussing. So I don't even know where to start at with you, Miss Margaret. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Now you want me
We're good.
Okay, I'm doing fine.
And I'd like to welcome you here today, and I thank you for allowing me to come into your wonderful home. And I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful place, a beautiful space, and you have all this art around here. So you're an avid art collector?
It's kind of a part of what I did as an art teacher. So it's an extension of just being in the classroom and teaching art to students.
And where did you teach art at?
Well, I started, and this is interesting, I guess, in a way, because my first year was the farthest thing from art as it could possibly be. I went down to St. John the Baptist Parish. I had heard that they were looking for some teachers, and a couple of my friends had gotten jobs down there. But it was, and you know, Agard is a part of St. John the Baptist.
You went down there. Okay.
Yeah, but I was on the West Bank, so I got the job, and it was Second Ward Elementary School. Miss Gertrude Brown was the principal.
Now, what year was this?
The year I graduated from college, 1954.
What college you graduated from?
Southern.
You graduated from Southern
University. I sure did.
All right then.
And I worked there my first year, and I was teaching everything, all the subjects to a 6th grade class. I stayed there for just 1 year, and Mr. John Brother Cade, whose the Cade Library is named after his father. He was in the school system at the time. He was because he was in my high school graduating class. So he told me, he said, Irene, they're looking for an art teacher at Peabody High School at Rapides Parish, Alexandria. So I hightailed it up to Alexandria.
You traveled all over Louisiana for a job, huh?
And talked with the principal at the time, Mr. David Ives.
Ooh, you remember everybody there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so he hired me. I stayed at Peabody for 6 years. And then Mr. John Cade again, he said, Irene, they looking for an art teacher at McKinley Junior High.
Oh, okay.
So I went and had a conference with Mr. Henry Essex, who was going to be the principal. I was hired. And I stayed at McKinley for 6 years, and during those 6 years, I had 2 maternity leaves. When I was coming off of the second maternity leave, it was right during the time, 1967, that they were trying to do the desegregation decree.
Oh, okay.
You know, and of course,
in Louisiana.
in this parish, in East Baton Rouge Parish. So they started off with about, I'm going to say 10 black teachers going to the white high schools. only the elective courses. In other words, art, music, something that a child didn't have to take if they didn't want to.
Okay, then.
So they sent me to Woodlawn High School, which at that time was out in the boondocks. You passed.
It was out in the wood. It was out in the woodlands.
I'm telling you. And look, they didn't even have the interstate at that time. I was traveling in Airline Highway, and I declare I didn't want to go. Of course, I was nervous about leaving a familiar surroundings.
Right.
And here they are sending me to Woodlawn. I'm the first black person that they will probably have encountered who would have been with, the same type of education and everything.
So you was a part of the first.
I sure was.
First black teachers to start the integration.
Well, I was at one of those first faculty members, and I was the first faculty. I stayed out there at Woodlawn 3 years before they started the students, and the other teachers followed. And I was so nervous out there at first because it's something new, and you knew they didn't want you out there. But I said, well, I'm not gonna give up my job, So I said, I know I can teach art, and if the students select art, they must like it. They know that the teacher's gonna be black. And if they want to take the course, I sure will teach it to them. And look, when I went out there to Woodlawn, my son that I was coming off the maternity leave for, he was still in diapers. He was born in April of '67, and I went to Woodlawn at the beginning of that school year, so that was September. When I left Woodlawn, he was entering high school.
You stayed there that long?
So I stayed that long at Woodlawn.
So it was.
And then I was transferred to Scotlandville. They had made it into a magnet school. And so that was when they opened up as a magnet school, and they got me to go there for art teacher.
Now, what was the first week like at Woodlawn as your first job being in a situation like that?
The students were just wonderful from the very beginning.
Okay.
The faculty, now they were civil, but
was not too welcoming.
Not really.
Okay.
And I'd go down to the faculty room during my off period just to get some coffee or just to relax, and those white teachers would come in there and they would make me feel uncomfortable. They were kind of mean, but I said, oh well.
What the kind of things they was doing?
Well, they were not talking to me. They were talking over my head,
Oh,
but they were talking about their maid, and in other words, anything they could say to
demean
me, make me think, okay, well, we're gonna put you in your place. You just, to us, you just
a slave. Basically.
Yeah, you just kind of got a better job, but you still
below us.
Yeah.
So what was your mindset, knowing what what they're thinking, how they operated?
It took a while to get kind of comfortable, but I knew that first of all, you know what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. So I said, they may say whatever they want to about me, but they would never be able to say that I couldn't teach art. So
you're going to do your job.
Right. I took those students and we just had a ball.
So,
I had developed me a teaching strategy, and of course, by them electing to take art, they liked it. They wanted to draw and paint and everything. So I just taught them everything that.
So the first 3 years was just, it was just, you still had the all white students the first 3 years?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
you was in an environment that was kind of a hostile
It was
environment.
a completely white environment.
Okay.
Students and faculty members, and of course you have to interact with the parents. But I must say that all in all, I never had them to just outright call me ugly names. Or I mean, you could tell those that wanted to sort of just be friendly. And I did make a few friends. There were some of the teachers that finally came around more or less, and the principal, I must say that they were fair. They didn't, try to.
Now, who was the principal at that time?
It was a Mr. Quinn. I can't remember. Bill. I think his first name was William, and they called him Bill. Quinn, Quinn.
Oh, okay then. Okay, well that's pretty good. You remember
And
that.
I do recall the occasions that I had interaction. Of course, you got to interact with the administrative staff, and they were courteous and professional.
Okay, but how many? I don't like you, but how many black teachers did they have there at that time?
The first 3 years, just me.
Just you?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
You was there by yourself for 3 years?
Yes, absolutely. And of course, the students that they hadn't come, and then they sort of trickled in. It was after 3 years. Now 3 years passed, and remember, I went in the beginning of the school year of 1967. So it was 67.
And that ain't that long ago now. When you think about it.
Well, not really when you think about it. Yeah.
That long ago.
So that was 67, 68, 69, 70.
So you had been out of school for 13 years because you graduated in 54?
Mm-hmm.
So,
54.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, you started out pretty good because this some new information.
Okay.
I did not know you was one of the first to
I'm
start
all in
integration.
for telling it all.
Hey,
I'm going to tell everything.
And tell it like it is too,
Yeah,
right?
I'm going to tell everything.
Yes,
But
okay.
it turned out to be a beautiful experience.
How long you was there?
I was there from 1967 to 1982. And like I say, my son, he was in diapers when I went out there. And he was going to high school. He's starting his freshman year. And they sent him to Central High School.
From Scotlandville?
Well, we were here.
From the same
We were here.
location, okay.
Now, of course, I was at, they were sending me to Scotlandville, the magnet school.
So now you closer to home.
Oh, that was beautiful. Just a couple of blocks down the street. And I had been driving out to Woodlawn.
Back
all
then,
of these years.
that's like you almost in New Orleans back then.
Really.
Yeah,
Like I
that
say,
was
when I
long time.
started, they didn't have the interstate. Then they had started, whenever they started, because I remember there were friends of the family who had to give up their homes in South Baton Rouge. They were going to take the interstate through there, so they were taking these people's houses.
People that look like us.
Oh yeah, they were going through the black neighborhoods down there, Julius Street, South Baton Rouge, yeah. Because one lady, very good friend of the family, as a matter of fact, her daughter was daddy's godchild, so that was how close the families were. And she ended up by building a house down here on Emile Street, which is at the
Now,
end of-
who was that family?
Okay, that was Mrs. Freeman, Hazel Freeman.
Okay, I remember the name.
You remember? Yeah. Okay. Right.
Now, but we got to also talk a little bit about this lovely home that you had. You said this is your family estate.
Well, like I was saying before we really started getting into everything or talking, when we first came to Baton Rouge, and that was like 1936 when Daddy accepted the position.
You still in diapers too, didn't you?
Well, almost, practically, yeah. I hadn't started first grade. And we lived up on campus. Now, they had quite a few families that were living on campus at the time. Faculty homes up there.
Oh, they was living on campus?
On campus, yeah, on campus. Like, okay, Dean Cade, I mentioned him. The Cade Library is named after him. I think they have a shade dormitory, female dormitory, and Mrs. Shade was the head librarian at the library that's there. Now that had been built. That is right next to the law school now.
Right,
and she was the head librarian, so she lived on campus.
So y'all first lived on campus. Now who was your dad?
Who was my dad?
Yeah, who was your dad?
Arnett William Ace Mumford.
Coach
Mumford.
Mumford, the legendary.
So they say, and I look, we had some good old times, and of course, by us, with him being the coach and those home games, it was just a magnificent time. Even though it was a segregated environment,
But you enjoyed being around your people. It was no big deal, huh?
Absolutely.
You didn't think twice about it. Huh?
You knew what was important. Friends, family, good times, going to school. Now you had to go to school.
Okay.
But
now, what part of Texas did y'all move from to come here?
Daddy was at Texas College, which is in Tyler. That's where I was born. Tyler, Texas.
Now, what's your mother's name?
Mother's name, Rosa. Rosa Verdell. That was her middle name.
Verdell.
Rosa Verdell. She was a Hendricks.
Hendricks, like Jimi Hendrix?
But it wasn't spelled ended with an X like Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
It was ICKS. It had the K on the end with the S, Hendricks.
Okay, now where your mom was from?
She was from, okay, let me see. It's near Austin, Texas. Oh goodness, I don't know why that's not out of all the names.
Well, that's okay.
But anyway, she was a family. There were 3 daughters and 3 sons. Her father had a grocery store.
Oh, okay, they're business people.
Yeah, he had his own business, and I have a ledger. Because, of course, at that time, they weren't keeping records like they would now, I mean, he would write down, like, if somebody came in and bought a loaf of bread. Yeah, he'd write it, they could charge it, and I still have that book. My mother kept that book.
Now, did you know your mothers and dad?
I had never met her father.
What was his name?
George Hendricks.
And what was her mother's name?
Marjorie. Let me see, their maiden name, it's gonna come to me. But I only had just limited visitation with her family, because of course we were here in Baton Rouge and they were in Texas, near it. Where it's gonna come to me this yeah, but it's near Austin. It's in the vicinity of Austin, and she started college at Texas Christian College. That's in Jarvis, Texas. That's where she met her husband.
Was in the Virginia area,
and of course even down in Florida, because I remember there was one person, she and I were international. I never really met her, but I seemed like we had talked on the phone a couple of times. Her name was Jennifer, and her name was Mumford. So there were some Mumfords, and in Pennsylvania, in Erie, there were relatives. I don't have, the family is not huge, but there's some Mumfords still out there.
You still the only one in Louisiana, and besides, you still the only one in Louisiana, probably.
Yeah. It's not a common name.
So your dad, Coach Mumford, Southern University hired him in what year?
1936.
1936. Now you got to tell them what year you were born.
I don't care. I was born in 1932.
1932, the year of the Depression?
Huh?
That was the year of the Depression. That was 1929, the year of the Depression. Okay.
But it was tough going for blacks particularly. But he was at Texas College.
So Miss Mumford, how old are you?
I'll be 91 a few days before the band quit. Isn't that something?
91.
Yeah.
And you still look just beautiful.
Well,
the mind is sharp.
Look.
91. How many children did your mom and dad have?
There's 3.
Okay.
My sister Gwen.
Is she still here?
No, my sister died in 2009.
Okay.
Yeah, and then of course there was a son, Arnett Jr., my brother. He's deceased too.
Okay.
But he did have a son, so there's an Arnett III.
Oh, there is Arnett III.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then. So there are some Mumfords
Oh,
here.
look, Daddy had a brother. That's a Mumford. He's still living. His first name is Forney. They took the family name and made that his first name. So he's Forney Mumford, but they call him Skipper.
So
he lives in Cleveland.
Your dad's brother is still alive?
No.
Okay.
I was just mentioning that he had one brother.
Oh, okay. He had one brother. And that was Forney.
And that was his first name.
Of the last name of the family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the brother, well, both. Look, let me get this straight. He had one brother who had 2 sons, so quite naturally they were Mumfords. One of the sons still lives in Cleveland. He had 2 sons. They were Mumfords. Now, unfortunately, they are both deceased. One through an accidental shooting, and the other had developed a blood disorder, kind of like leukemia.
Okay.
And it had been in remission. He was very ill as a young child, but it kind of went in remission. But then it came back after he became an adult, because he had married, and he and his wife had come down to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and they took a bus and came up here. We visited with them. We had a good time. And then about 2 years after that, he started getting sick again, and he passed. And that's been about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, that's been kind of recent.
Recently,
Okay.
recently, yeah.
So, but it's out of the brothers and sisters, you are the only surviving one.
From the Mumfords that were here, yeah. I'm the
Okay.
only child. My brother passed in 1999.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Mumford name is a powerful name in Louisiana, but you don't meet that many Mumfords.
I know.
So that's always been very interesting, that a name like Mumford, but you hardly ever meet anybody named Mumford.
And the other Skipper, who's still in Cleveland, there's only one other brother, and that was Mumford, Eric. He had 4 sons with his first wife. So that means that there are 4 living Mumfords. One of them lives in Chicago. There's another one in Atlanta. There are a couple that are on the East Coast. But now, a couple of them don't use the Mumford name. They went into that, like going into change their name to more of a Muslim name.
Okay then.
But they are still Mumfords, and they are still living, and they have children. They're married and they have children.
And there's not too many girls in the family then.
It's interesting now. The brother that I'm talking about, Eric, he had 4 sons with his first wife, and they divorced, and then he remarried, and with his second wife, he just had 2 sons. He just had sons, so that was just sons. So but then my dad had 4 sisters. Now one of the sisters, she's the one of them. That's who I'm named after. Her name was Irene, but she was Irene Eliza. Mother was up there in Buckhannon. That's where my sister was born, Buckhannon.
Eliza, like Eliza in the Bible?
I guess so. But mother didn't like Eliza, so she changed it to Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
And then there was another sister. Her name was Mabel. She died early. But then there were 2 other sisters. Portia, that's another sister. Now, they all deceased now, of course,
right,
but, I'm just naming the members of his family. And Portia, not Portia, that was the other sister. Hortense never married. From what I gather, from what they tell about the family history, there was some man that she was so in love with, and I don't know whether it seemed like he had some kind of accident or something, so they never were married, and that just broke her heart, so she just never married. So she died of Mumford, but she lived to be 104. She was
104.
She was a teacher up in Grafton, West Virginia.
Grafton, I never heard of that.
Yeah, well, these little towns and everything. Just like every time I read the obituary column for Louisiana, I see these little towns where these people have lived, and I never heard of them. They got a lot of little old towns everywhere, I guess you could say.
And really, when you go back and research it, I did not know this until I got on the board of a museum, Railroad African American Museum. And I realized that a lot of these little small towns that have these different names really was named after the plantation that was in that area. So a lot of them names are plantation names that
That's right.
don't pay much attention to.
That's
and that's
right.
probably the same way it was in Virginia.
Sure.
It was the heart of
absolutely.
of slavery. That's
Sure.
why they brought everybody in through that area.
You got that right.
Now, but being part of the Mumford dynasty, and when y'all moved here and you was a little girl, what was the energy, the excitement like in the Baton Rouge area for Southern University, and your dad, who was one of the most winning coach in the history of Southern University and SWAC football?
From what I can gather, and this is just from stories through the years, because I tell you what, and I have to sort of remind myself of this and maybe remind other people. We really weren't into the roots thing, finding out about our ancestry until that series came.
Right.
Remember, that Roots came on, and I was at Woodlawn. Boy, them white folks was watching it. But up until that point, looked like, I'm not saying that they tried to erase their history, but it just wasn't something that people went about trying to find out, okay, well, what part of Africa did my great-grandfather come from? We started searching out whether or not we had Nigerian in us, or whether Cameroon or the Congo or whatever. We went into that, but that's just been recently that has become something that we did.
Gain interest in.
Yeah. But back to your original question, when Daddy first got here, he wasn't. Now they wanted him. Southern wanted him because he had been so successful at Texas College, and he had come to Texas College from Bishop, and he had been, like I said, where he met his bride, my mother, Texas Christian College. Now he came as a faculty member, and she was a student.
Oh no! You telling her?
I don't know how they arranged that. They arranged something, but she had a sister there who married the president's son, so they had connections of some sort.
Your mom's sister married the son of the president of Texas College?
At that time, his name was Irvin. President Irvin.
What was the last? Irvin was the last name?
I can't remember. And when Daddy was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, and we went up to South Bend.
That was recent. That was in 2000.
That was in 2000. No, that was well, it wasn't. It was later back beginning. It was 2000 because they hadn't had 9/11, and that was just 2002. It was 2001. Yeah. 2001. So my sister and I, my brother had passed. He had been dead about 2 years. So my sister, who was living in Atlanta, we got the trip up there, and then all the other people, my skipper and all of them came for the ceremonies and everything. But we went to South Bend for the enshrinement, and Daddy, I kind of lost my thoughts there. I was going somewhere with that, talking about the
year he was enshrined at the college. College Hall of Fame.
I was wanting to make. It'll come back to me. Okay. I wanted to make a point about that. Something that I was going to say.
Right. Okay.
Relative to the that trip that we took up there. Oh.
But he's no longer. He was no longer. He's been gone since.
Oh yeah, he was deceased because he died in 1962.
He was a young man. He's still a young man.
But it's a funny thing. See, back in that day, 62. The average younger person would think that was old. But see, they don't think that now.
No.
62 is
like you about to make 90.
Yeah. So it's just interesting how things change over a period of time.
So he coached at Southern almost.
He was 25 years here.
25? That's
25
a long
years.
time.
But and what I was getting ready to say, I think, was that when he came to Southern, he didn't start off winning. They were kind of looking at him saying, did we make the right choice? But then looked like
he hit his stride.
And
he started dominating.
And from there, it was just history.
And he dominated Grambling. Eddie Robinson couldn't beat him at all.
Yes, absolutely.
And he produced. I don't know how many professional athletes back then. I mean, he was the man. We did it before Eddie Robinson. He was the man.
Yeah, Eddie Robinson went to Leland, and he wanted to. Now, this, of course, is just hearsay. I'm just talking about what I've heard through the years. Right. So Eddie Robinson was, I don't know how many years younger than Daddy. He was coming out of college, but he went to Grambling. He realized because Daddy had already built his team, and from what I gather, he just said, "Well, I don't have a place. Southern I won't be able to hit my stride at Southern." Right, so then he went on to Grambling, But they were gracious people too, Mr. and Mrs. Robinson. We went up to, when Daddy was inducted into the Louisiana Hall of Fame, we went up to the ceremony in Natchitoches. I can't remember exactly what year that was, but Eddie Robinson was still, of course, at Grambling, and we were all there at the motel, all the guests and everything, and Mrs. Robinson was there, and it was just camaraderie, just.
They was already very, what they call it, very respectful to the Mumford family.
Yeah, and he would, even though Southern was always beating them.
At that time.
Yeah, back during that time, because I remember before they had, well, let me see, before they had the west part of the stadium, and then they had built the east side. And I can remember going and sitting there. They didn't have any of the, what makes a stadium beautiful. Now, it really hadn't developed at that time. But we were whipping their butts, And he would admit that. Eddie Robinson would admit that. But they still had a camaraderie, because after all of the home games, all of the officials and all of the coaches from the visiting team, and if they had brought their families and their wives, they all congregated at our house.
The same house here?
No, not this house. The house up there on campus.
On campus?
The house up there on campus. And we'd have, and after the game, the kids, the students, we'd be having parties and dances and this, that, and the other. But we couldn't go anywhere until after we had served all of the company. We had to help our mother, which we, didn't mind, because I enjoyed the atmosphere of the sports, the football, and meeting all of the coaches. I remember Fred Long from Wiley and Coach Gaither from Florida A&M. And there was a coach from Langston, and then we started playing, let me see, what other those schools? We weren't playing like Alabama, but we were, playing.
You're playing Jackson State?
Well, seemed like that wasn't one of the original. It was Wiley, Bishop, Texas College, all of those older black schools in those early days. Now, when they started, we started playing Tennessee State, and then we started playing Alcorn, and the SWAC team, this had fluctuated.
Now, I want to know, like a young lady like you, a beautiful young lady like you, around all these big old handsome football players. What was that like for you? Your dad told you to stay from over there?
He messed up my social life.
Your dad messed up your social life?
And it was just his demeanor. He wasn't really like a father don't want his daughters to have any boyfriends. That wasn't the issue. But it was just his demeanor. He was a firm disciplinarian on the football field. That was a secret to his success. And I remember him. He worked at that football. Now he was not the kind of hands-on father, but he was there in the home, and it was a steady. And that's one thing that I did comment about in my biography. My parents, which is probably true with most people, that home life is what stabilizes you as you move through your life. And of course, what you learn from your parents and in that home life is what sustains you after you become an adult and get out on your own and start having your own family.
Right. So now you're saying the home life is what stabilized you.
Yeah, your mom and dad are there, and you know that they're there, and even though your daddy is coming in late after football practice because they didn't have, see, Southern was a totally different environment back in that day. They didn't have those buildings. They didn't have the Union building. They didn't have what we recognize as Southern now. They didn't have the lab school where it is now. The lab school, the first grade, the building that housed the elementary school was all the way down there where the library is now, the Cade Library.
Well, that's where you went to school at?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you went to the library back then to go to school? It was a
the
school.
library was across the street because like when you go down and cross the tracks here at this light, where if you turn left at that light, you turn at Swan Street.
Right.
We were number one Swan Street. That was our address. And you could go all the way from those tracks all the way up to where, like, what is the, are you familiar with what they made, where the art gallery, they made the art?
No,
it's like when you go as far as you can go on campus, and you have to make that turn.
You turn right or left?
They have to turn left.
Yeah.
And I think they've named that after one of the presidents, Netterville. That's Netterville Drive, I think. And of course, when you keep on driving, you eventually come to the curve where you hit Harding Boulevard, and then they start putting those lights up there on Harding Boulevard. And you could, if you look over to the right, you can see the river. That's that bend.
Right.
That's the bend in the river. So it's just.
So now y'all had to walk from where you were to school when you was in the first, second, third grade. So
You walked.
So you had to walk closer to where the law center is right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you had to walk to.
And then of course once we started going to college, you had to walk past Lake Kernan, the lake, and going up on the campus.
Hold on, so the campus started behind the lake?
Yeah, like where the dining hall is.
Where the dining hall is.
Yeah,
where the president house is.
Yeah.
So that was the actual campuses.
Yeah.
The front part where the
Okay, all those new buildings, well, they're not new now, I guess, but all of those buildings like the fine arts, like where the music hall, the music building, and that they got a gymnasium now. They just had that one gymnasium that was up on campus right there as you make that curve.
back then on the bluff.
Yeah. It's just totally different now. Because we could stand on the front porch of number 1 Swan Street and look out, and it would just feel. That's where my mother took me in that field to learn how to drive, and we just had a stick shift car. and she took me in that field to teach me how to drive. But you could look all the way from Swan across that field, and that's where they practice. That's where they practice.
Okay. That's what they call the car pastor?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But of course, the agriculture, that was back behind us. That wasn't that in that direction.
In other words, and they built the Mumford Stadium, actually where they used to practice at? That's where the Mumford, that's where...
Well,
or they built the mini dome where they used to practice at?
No, they didn't. Not that far towards Scotland.
Right. Okay.
It was more toward, like, in between the stadium and what would be the Union in that area. That would just.
So what dormitory did they have back then?
Well, they had back where they have the cluster of stadiums, I mean, not stadium, the cluster of dormitories now, you know, you can go back on the back, and that's where they have the women.
So they were there before.
They had a few, yeah, but I mean, they weren't as built up like they are now.
Right,
you know?
right.
And there's that building. It's an educational building. They got a light there at that intersection now. I don't know whether I can make you understand.
No, I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about where the Dean Don Anderson. That's the business. It's the business building. People majoring in business at that light right there, I think.
Okay. Yeah. See, they have the engineering building. Our house was in that vicinity, where the engineering building has been built, and then I think there's a home economics building.
So the university provide housing for the teachers.
It was the faculty. Yeah. Let me see. I would say that if our house and another faculty member's house was side by side, and then there was a certain space where it was just a field, and then and this is moving towards the river, going west. Then they had a row of houses right there by that library, that first library, where Mrs. Shade was the head librarian, and her house was right there. There was a Mr. Tellis, his son came back from where he went to school. He was a medical doctor here in Baton Rouge, a heart specialist. He's retired now.
Okay.
But his family lived there. They had a whole row of houses. I can't remember, that was a long time ago. But the man who was over the maintenance, Mr. Paul, his family lived up there. There was another man, he was in the math department. It was plenty faculty members living up there.
So they had those little houses. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, when did y'all move into this house?
We moved into this house in the summer of 1961. And that football season, 61 football season.
So y'all lived there since 30 to 1930. What year?
1932 to 19.
That's almost 30 years.
Well,
y'all lived on the campus for almost 30 years.
I got married up on campus in that house. I got married in 1959.
You got married in that house?
Yeah, in that living room. I got married at home.
You got the wedding pictures?
I was thinking about that the other day. I don't know whether you knew John Williams.
The photographer? Yes.
He took my wedding pictures. And in the process, and I think about that now, I don't know why, because I remember I had given him a down payment to do my wedding pictures. And he did do them. He did do the pictures. I didn't get them in a timely fashion. And then where he had his office and his photography and everything stored, caught on fire. Everything got burned. And he lost out, so I never got my wedding pictures.
You never got your wedding pictures?
Never got them. And I regret that. But I say, well, what happened 5 seconds ago is gone.
You didn't get not one picture?
No, I didn't.
Well,
but
who was your husband?
I married a man that I met up when I went to Alexandria.
The big city of Alexandria.
I married a John Tucker. He's deceased now. And we were married for 23 years, and then we divorced. and he died in 2006.
Oh, quite some time ago.
Yeah, but he started out teaching. When I married him, he hadn't finished college.
You
I had raised some eyebrows.
You married a young man, huh?
Well, it wasn't that he was a young. He was young because we were young, but it wasn't that he was. It wasn't that type of thing. It's just that he had married right out of high school, and he had 2 children.
Oh.
So
okay.
then they got divorced, and he just had gone on not into a job that where you had to have a diploma to have it, but he had always wanted to continue. So to make a long story short, he did his undergraduate work. He started before we got married because he would come down like driving, like Wednesdays to take your class from 6 to 9. You get 3 hours, that type of thing.
Wait from Alexander.
Yeah, come down to Southern. And there'd be others, they'd pool and drive down, other people working on their degrees, masters or whatever. So he did his work, undergraduate work, went to work at Capitol High School. You know Capitol there?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Keel was the principal at the time. Then he, and that was during the time when, like I had said earlier, it was kind of during the Roe versus Wade had gone through the courts. I had a couple of friends who had started at LSU. So it was during that civil rights.
Started LSU back then?
As a matter of fact, when I finished college, like I say in 1954, I didn't have a job when I first got out of college. So I decided that I would go to LSU and get my master's. But then about 6 weeks into the school year, I did hear about this job down in Edgard. And you wanna start earning your own living, have your own money. You starting to, okay, I'm a grown up now. I need to start seeing where I'm going with my profession and my life. So I did quit LSU.
So you started at the master program at LSU in arts? What year was this?
54.
54?
That first
AP Two was there?
I guess so, but I'm not really remembering him. But I do remember an art professor, and I'm sure that if you talk with Ed Barnes, the guy that did the statue of Daddy,
Right.
Because he got his master's from LSU. And he did, I think his area of concentration was sculpture. And I was taking one of those first courses from that sculpture professor. Now you talking about a meanie.
Media.
He let you know that he didn't like black people.
Oh no.
And that might have been part of why I was just ready to go on and try to do something else. I don't think I was really happy starting, at LSU at that time.
But you knew what the climate and environment was like at that time when you went there.
Well, see, at that time, I hadn't gone to Woodlawn. See, I had been working a while before I went to Woodlawn.
Right.
So that was really like my first encounter with a whole bunch of people of the other persuasion.
Yeah, plus you kind of, although your family came out of Texas, you was raised in the Scotlandville area, which was a very prominent area for, you didn't have to go outside.
Everything was right here in North Scotlandville. Everything was right. The campus, And I don't think that the campus and the Scotlandville community was as integrated with some people socializing then as it is now, because see, you didn't have all of these different subdivisions. You didn't have Southern Heights. You didn't have Park Vista. You didn't have Crestworth. You didn't have the Baker community. All of that came later, where all of the people could find housing and everything. Most blacks were living like right here off of Scenic, you know, like these streets that they have now.
Okay, then. Yeah.
And then, of course, you had the Baton Rouge community, which, in a way, it wasn't separated because, you know, really and truly, as blacks, we were all in the same boat. You just had to make your life, you know, and one group couldn't separate themselves from just because you lived a few more miles down the road. And there were lots of people from the South Baton Rouge that came to Southern. You know, some of the classmates that I had and everything.
I mean, so coming from South Baton Rouge, like there was a long ways to come or something. Why would because everything was happening in Scotlandville, but South Baton Rouge, the blacks had their own areas too. That y'all didn't go to hang out in South Baton Rouge to eat? Or
not really, because you didn't have a lot of black businesses or places, and you know it was segregated. It was, you know, you didn't really have a lot of places to go down. I mean, don't be trying to go in those white areas. You know, what you doing there? Who are you? What, other than I say, okay, if you were a maid or if you were did somebody's yard or something, that would be your only reason for being in those white neighborhoods.
Do you remember the bus boycott in Baton Rouge?
Yeah. I knew some of those people, some of those young men that boycotted. I mean, some of those not boycotted, but went to sit down at the.
You talking about the Crest, though?
Yeah, but
I'm talking about the Baton Rouge bus boycott with Jemison and Horatio Thompson.
Yeah.
You was here then? That was in 1952, I think, or 53.
I was in college. Mm-hmm.
So you wasn't a part of that?
I wasn't marching. But I remember all of that going on.
What about the sit-ins? You never participated in that?
No. And you know, and I don't know, I think in a way when I look back on that, I really think that a person could say that I probably led a kind of a sheltered life. You know, look like my parents kind of tried to keep me close. I remember wanting to go when they did finally make some progress and they were opening up a few jobs like Woolworth or Crest. I wanted to go and get me a job. I wanted to be independent. But look like my especially now, maybe Daddy might would have said, well, let the girl go head on, you know. But my mother looked like she wanted to try to keep me in. And young people didn't have cars.
Right.
Now, you know, that was just not unheard of. If you were going somewhere, the parents would get together. One parent would take you to wherever you were going. And then when the party was over, somebody would come get you. You wasn't driving your own car.
The party was over for real.
Now you could once you went through and learned how to drive and got your driver's license, they would let you drive to the drugstore. We thought we were.
You weren't living good.
I guess you're right. We had a ball.
You was part of all the excitement. Your dad created a lot of excitement.
Well, that's true. That's very true.
But you know how that is. That you're so close to it, but you really feel left out. because you still want to do what you want to do, but you had to kind of follow the narrative of the dad and mom. Huh?
Lord, and I tell you the truth, yeah. I think that's why I wanted, when I got out of college and I did start the master's program, but I really wanted to, I think I was just ready to kind of start growing up and being a young woman, being grown, being an adult, because I was still living there at home, and before I bought my own car, during the time that I was up in Alexandria, I used to ride the bus to come
Alexandria?
home.
From back and forth to Alexandria?
Yeah.
It was no big deal, is it?
No. No big deal. You did what you had to do.
And you was a school teacher then?
Yeah. I was a school teacher. And Mom and Dad would come to the bus station and pick me up, from the bus station. Especially if we had a game, or something going on that weekend, I'd come on home. But I had a lot of friends in Alexandria. Sometimes I would stay up there, and Alexandria was a partying little town.
But you didn't party too hard, I know better than that.
Well, I didn't party to the extent that it wasn't just fun, good fun.
Right, because you wouldn't want to embarrass your mom and dad.
No, and I knew better. I had learned. They had taught us how to be respectable, and I had always said I would never bring any shame on the Mumford family. I had that much respect for my family's name, and I knew right from wrong.
Yeah, but sometimes we know it, but we still.
Yeah, well, like my son now, sometimes, well, Mama, were you smoking? I said, well, I wasn't smoking at home. I wasn't sitting at home blowing smoke in my mama's face, no. And not my daddy was a heavy smoker.
Oh, okay.
He was a heavy smoker, and I think that if he had, which back in the day, sure, people thought smoking was glamorous. You can't hardly watch a movie. You're not going to watch a Bogart movie or one of those movies back in the day with Barbara Stanwyck and all those, Betty Davis. Everybody was smoking.
They were chain smokers.
I've even seen a picture of Jacqueline Kennedy at a party, and she had a cigarette. She was kind of a heavy smoker, so I read. Mm-hmm.
So that shows how powerful and the influence that movies had on people then and now.
How about that? And I've got a couple of pictures where we were at a club in Alexandria, and everybody at the table was sitting there with a cigarette in their hand. And that was during the time when you'd get a setup. You'd get the bottle and the bucket of ice and everything, and they'd put it in the middle of the table and bring everybody their glasses. They call it a setup. You could
what was your favorite drink?
I started out with bourbon. I can't think of the name of that. That's been so long ago. And then I moved. Looked like I went to Scotch.
You drink that heavy stuff. Scotch on the rocks. Scotch on the rocks.
No, I'd always have. What would I put with that?
Twisted lime, orange juice.
Something with it, yeah, something. And then I sort of started going to vodka, but we were just really on the weekend, and then the football games. People would get together for the football games, and
that was the party time. Huh?
We would people would catch a bus, take a bus from Alexandria, go up to the Southern Grambling game, and it was just.
So the Grambling Southern game was big even back then.
Oh yeah, that was a rivalry that goes way back. Because I can remember when I was teaching in Alexandria, we'd get a bus together, and people would drive their cars up from Baton Rouge to ride the bus, get on the bus in Alexandria to be with the whole crowd, be with everybody, you know.
Y'all was the happening bus,
Sure, we knew how to party. We knew how to party. Yeah, absolutely.
But y'all heard it from Miss Irene herself. So she was not a party person, but you knew how to party. Though,
we knew how to party. But now look, I've got. I wish, and you know, maybe the next time we get together, I will have had a chance to gather up a few pictures.
That would be nice.
You know, because Mom and Dad, see, they had a whole circle of friends. Mother was in some clubs. She was
with that socialite, that what they call them?
Kind of, yeah. You know, because, well, the Mumfords, you know what I'm saying? We had the coaches and...
Well, but your dad was the head football coach at the Southern University.
That's what was going on.
Who was the largest HBCU in the country at the time.
And he was a Kappa.
He was a Kappa?
Yeah, he was a Kappa. All of the men in my family were Kappas.
Did you play it?
I'm a Delta.
You're a Delta?
Yeah.
Okay.
My sister was a Delta. My mama was a Delta.
Now, what year you played?
My junior year, 1953.
Oh, you played in school?
At Alphatall, yeah.
Okay, then.
Mm-hmm. Up at Southern.
How many sisters online with you?
I think it was about 12 of us. About 12.
I know you got that picture there. You got to have a picture of your Lion sisters.
Somewhere we've got some scrapbooks, and we had to do a scrapbook. That's somewhere around here, and I've got to really get on that because Angela Proctor wants Daddy's memorabilia to, you know, and I told her that I'm getting it together. His, you know, different.
And what they gonna do with it?
I guess they're gonna do something archive, some kind of archive.
They get that to the Amistad somewhere. That's history. Probably be best to get that to the Amistad. Somebody gonna preserve that.
Well, you don't think.
Well, I mean, I'm just.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
though.
it'll get lost after a few years. It's like they have a statue of your dad that Charlie Granger and Mr. Barnes did years ago.
I know.
And the statue is nowhere to be found.
I know, he told me that, and I think that is just ridiculous. I know what goes on up. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I really do, and I just think it's just, you know.
Now, it would be nice because they got a stadium named after your dad. What the name of that stadium is?
A.W. Mumford.
A.W. Mumford Stadium on Southern University campus, and they were supposed to erect the statue. What year was that?
I know that the 2016 banquet was the unveiling because we were there for that. We went to that's when, you know, that particular time, and then we were supposed
at the Hall of Fame banquet that Charlie Granger. I know because I had to move the statue.
Yeah, I know that. He told me kind of what all, and then the next day they were supposed to have a program because I've got a program where it has me there as guest speaker. I say, Charlie, you didn't tell me I was supposed to be guest speaker.
You was guest speaker at the banquet you didn't even know about, huh?
Of course, they didn't have it. It was some problem up there, but I know what happens, how that goes. But I guess I was just thinking it would just be such a shame not to give Southern his, you know, papers and whatever, memorabilia and different stuff.
It would be great if they go preserve it, conserve it, you know, because that's valuable. That's very valuable. But when you give them a statue
that's missing.
Now, no, somebody called me a few months ago and told me they found the statue.
Okay.
They located the statue at Southern University.
Okay.
But I can't say where it's at. But they tell me somebody located
yeah,
the statue.
look like, and I'm kind of, I know what you're saying, but you can't. I just said, well, what can you do? If I I were as one of the children, the only living child left, if I were younger and more able to really kind of get into the politics of what would be involved in dealing with that, I perhaps would do it. When they first started talking about the field house, I said I know that they must have had some kind of ceremony to break ground. They did not say one word to the Mumford family.
What do you mean?
Like when they were getting ready to start the construction
of the Mumford Stadium?
Not the stadium, the field house.
The field house, okay.
They didn't say one word to the Mumford family. When they had the opening or whatever ceremony that they had, if they had anything, they didn't say one word. They didn't invite the Mumford family or anything. Now, the only thing that did happen when they were getting ready to put the letters up that says Arnett William Mumford, or however, whatever the letters say, somebody called and asked, was Arnett spelled with one T or two T's? And that is the only communication.
Still didn't invite you. They honor your father, but you don't get an invitation.
But then what took the cake was, and I, of course, from what I can understand, it was some of his money. When they did that Tony Clayton Pavilion or whatever they call that up there, that's the first place you walk into.
Right.
Now, I think if Mr. Kerr, did you know Mr. Kerr, who was the athletic director during the time that Daddy was inducted into?
No.
Okay, anyway, he was the athletic director then. He and his wife did come up to South Bend for the program, the ceremony and everything. I think that if he had stayed, and then they had another man, Dr. Jackson. He was kind of right there underneath maybe the vice president, next third in line for, I don't know what they call that particular position. But when they dedicated the stadium, he did have kind of like go out on the field for a halftime type of thing. It looked like they had tried to do a few things after the stadium was built, and then they had this sculptor Hayden,
yes,
who got killed. Frank Hayden. He had done this bust of Daddy, and they had a program up on campus.
Where's it at?
The last I saw of that bust, it was up in that booth that's on the east side, not the east side, on the west side, where the you could sit.
The announce when you announcing the game.
I guess so. I guess that's what it is.
Oh,
That section that's up like on the west side that faces the you look down on the field. That's where it was the last time I saw it.
Mm. So,
but I tell you, I felt like I'm gonna say this, and I guess it's no secret. I don't talk about it, but I fell out with Southern when they started. Now they had sent us complimentary tickets for years, and it's not like you looking for a handout, but it was a courtesy thing. And they would send us the tickets for the games. when LaFleur, did you know LaFleur? When he was athletic director, I met him when they honored Daddy over in San Antonio. Some coaches association presented him with a plaque, and they asked me to come over and accept it, which I did. I met LaFleur.
Greg LaFleur.
Yeah. And I met Coach Robinson. I had never met Coach Robinson.
Eddie Robinson?
No. Richardson.
Pete Richardson.
So we were sitting at the same table. So they had taken the seats away. The where you sit down in the right there by the 50-yard line.
Right.
We always had seats there, and they would send us. They'd call and say, "Miss Tucker, your tickets are ready," or either they would deliver them. They took those seats away and my daughter and I went strutting up there to the first Southern game that season. And somebody we didn't look at the tickets, because we just figured we had the same tickets that we had. So we just going up there, to get our seats. Somebody else was in our seats. And I wasn't going to make no scene or nothing, but I called the usher. They had put us up about midway the stadium in the bleachers. So that irritated me.
I guess it did.
I saw LaFleur at this banquet of this program in San Antonio, and I called his hand on it, and it was just like you talking to a child. And he admitted that. I said, well, the least you could have done was send us a letter and say, we're having to change our system. If you would like to purchase these tickets, or if you can have them at discount, anything to say that you're no longer getting them free. You didn't say anything. And I said, that is the most unprofessional thing I have ever have been a part of in my lifetime. Now, with Coach Richardson, as a person, after I met him, but it was years, he had been at Southern for a while before. And I guess really when you think about it, there was no reason for him to really try to make contact with. It was like they figured that the Mumford family had just gone out of existence or something, But I did meet him at one of the banquets. The banquet looked like it might have been the last one they had at the Bell, when he got up to make his speech and started crying
because of his wife.
About his wife. And then after the program was over, he did come over to my table. He said, haven't I met you before? Well, we had met in San Antonio. That was back in 2007, something like that.
So now you're talking about 2019, I think. Because I presented you with an award at the Hall of Fame banquet. I gave you a robe with your name on it. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So
I didn't remember that it was you, though.
I just thought about that. I gave you a robe with your name on it. I have a nice picture of us that we took.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mr. Charlie Granger always is honoring you, your family, and your dad.
That's one thing about Charlie, and I told every time we're talking and anything comes up where I can let him know that I hold him in high esteem. Charlie is a trip, though.
No, he no trip. He the whole vacation.
Yeah, he is too much, really and truly. And sometimes I just have to chuckle, because now that program where Coach Richardson was the recipient, he had told Charlie was up there on the dais talking, and saying that he's gonna have Coach Mumford's daughter. And I had told him, I said, and even at that time I couldn't walk and stand for it. And I said, well, Charlie, I'm not gonna be able to walk to the podium to make any comments. And he's, oh, we'll bring the mic to you. We're gonna bring it to you. So I'm there at the table.
You waiting on the mic?
I'm waiting on the mic. The program is over.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And my daughter Robin and I laugh about that now. But I said, well, and that's when Coach Richardson came over and said, I know you. You was very friendly. So I think he's a very affable.
Oh, he's a class guy.
A nice person.
He really Coach Pete Richardson is a very class guy.
Yeah.
He's a humble man. He's a humble man.
Yeah. I really think so. But
so they had a bad experience with the tickets, but
I haven't been. Look, after that and at halftime, I think we sat halfway through the third quarter, and we just left. I don't remember who we were playing, but Ron said, "Come on, Mama, let's just go." I was so hurt. It wasn't like I think I'm so grand that I'm just supposed to have this and have that, but it's just a way to do things, and they didn't say anything, and here I am strutting up there walking thinking, okay, we got the same seats that we've always had, and there is somebody else who has legitimately bought the seats, bought the tickets, but I just didn't know. And then when I look at the tickets that we have, they're sending us up. Now, mind you, the older I get, the further they send it. So I said, and then when it got to the place where I just started having difficulty walking, but I was irritated about that. Now, I don't know how to evaluate that. You want to think the best of people.
Right.
But sometimes you just like Arsenio Hall used to do.
Well, I know Greg LaFleur personally, and to me, he's been an upstanding man in the community. I mean, I've known him in a different way, and I have the utmost respect for him.
Well, I think it was just a matter of him not really thinking it through. I think I don't think it was malicious.
Right.
But now I remember shortly after that, he got into some trouble over there.
Right.
In somewhere in Texas. But I do remember that they cleared him, whatever it was. I don't even remember what it was all about. Right. But I remember he was cleared of that. And
now, but Southern University as a whole, with all the great things your father accomplished over there, like his name is not always in the forefront. It's like it's getting further and further behind. I guess that's why Mr. Charlie Granger put the Southern University Hall of Fame. It's like this is last big stand for the Mumford family and your dad, to honor you all. So hopefully in November the 18th of 2023, they will put the statue up in honor of your dad, or donate it somewhere where somebody can put it up, because it's a nice statue. So why not, either you're not gonna do something with it, give it to someone who will.
And I can't understand what the problem is. it's not like it's gonna take up that much space wherever they do decide to put it, you know. But I just
Well, I mean, what do you think? What are some of the reasons why they might not be giving your? I mean, they named the stadium after him, so that says a lot right there. So what happened after that? What year did they name the stadium after your dad? What year was that when they named the stadium?
82.
82?
82, 1982. They had a nice ceremony, too. They had a nice ceremony up in the building. It wasn't the...
That's
the,
30 years, over 31 years ago.
It wasn't... It was in the building that's the art museum now, up there. Used to be named after Martin Harvey Hall.
Okay.
He was a dean of students back in the day. And they named it after him. But now it's the art gallery. And the man who was the athletic director, Kerr, that I mentioned a few minutes ago, his wife is over there, Vivian. And he left and went to Morgan State.
Vivian Kerr, she runs the art thing over there.
And I saw,
Museum,
I think it's been about, recently, within the last year, where he had died.
Right.
Do you remember that? You
I
remember?
heard he passed on.
Yeah. I don't think that the attitude of people, not everywhere, but I think the southern, what word do I want to use?
Careful. Watch it.
Well, I just don't think they put as much emphasis on the past. I'll put it that way. That's a nice way to put it. I don't think they in the process of arts. It's not. I don't think it's a part of their game plan, if I can use that terminology, to give reverence to people who have done a lot in the past. I think it's just slowly shifting. Now, what their motive is, who they're trying to.
But you still can honor it's a continuous thing. It's a building block.
Yeah, I know.
Of the greatness of one.
Sure. Well, look, let me say this too, which I thought was kind of hurtful. I was talking with Angela Proctor kind of around this time last year. And I said, Angela, I saw that the Bayou Classic is being held the same date as my father's birthday. I said, I would love to try to get them to make some kind of acknowledgement of that during halftime. Because I've been to 1,000 Bayou Classics. I just haven't been in recent years. Once they started televising, I said, parking was a hassle, but we used to just make that weekend. Sure. My relatives would come from Atlanta, and we would just have a ball.
Okay.
But I said, November. It was November 26th.
This year?
Last year. Well, it was last year that it fell on that day. Okay. It fell on that exact game day. And I said, I sure would like to see if they would. I said I was thinking about them maybe just saying, "Happy birthday, Coach Mumford." Just making some kind of comment to acknowledge that was his birthday. She said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm gonna mention that to Coach I don't think she called him Coach Bates. He's what, the athletic director?
Yeah, Coach Bates. Banks.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Banks.
Banks. Thinking about the other Bates. Roman Bates used to be at Capitol.
This is Roman Banks.
Yeah. Okay.
Angela.
She said, I'm going to mention that. I'm going to email him and tell him that. I said, okay, tell him to give me a call. If he called, you call.
I did call. Been a year ago though.
So then there was some other man, and I'm trying to get away from differentiating between black and white because I just think people are people.
Yeah.
But she indicated that there was somebody on the coaching staff who was white, and she was saying he was in. Said, why don't you call so and so? She gave me his number, his office number. I can't remember his name. I asked him to return my call. He never called. Bayou Classic came and went. Never heard anything. So, and I know that. See, that's not gonna happen on a game for another few years. I don't know when.
7 years. They fall every 7.
So I said, well, that's over with. But
so no, you didn't even get a call back, even to address the issue.
Not one thing. And, you know, years ago, and I think that this is what you are alluding to. You see, this man that did this interview with me, and I told you that I went down to the station.
Right.
Clayton Lewis.
Okay.
Clayton Lewis. That was his name. Clayton was, like you and Charlie, interested in the past, interested in the Mumford name and that type of thing. And he would have been on top of that. And then this other man that used to be the commentator for the game when you listen to it on the radio. I can't remember his name. He's a comical type fella.
That was the white guy?
No, it was a black guy. And I think that what was so funny, what was so interesting about him was that looked like he kind of get his words mixed up sometime, but he but you know who I'm
I
talking
can't think
about.
of the name.
I can't think of the name.
Yes.
I haven't and I haven't listened to Southern's game on the radio, but I did watch Southern. What was that? Something where they were on television. I don't know. Was it LSU?
LSU game last year, right?
Where they,
Yeah.
well, whatever. Who is that? The ball?
That's Kitty being nosy.
Oh.
Nobody?
Would you like to have a little sip of wine? Are you?
No, thank you. If you want to drink something, you're welcome to.
Can I offer you a Coke or a glass, bottle of water?
Water be fine.
Water, okay, just a bottle of water.
Yes,
Wow,
that'd be
okay.
fine. Yeah.
What was that guy's name?
Don't worry about it.
I know. I guess I was just trying to remember because he was such a character. Talking there, looked like it was his. Looked like when you call it, when you say his name, you would say the first 2 letters of, and then they say the last name. It looked like it was AJ or AG or something like that. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about.
I guess I'm just, when I came to Baton Rouge, I just got here in the mid 70s, and you start hearing about cause I come from a small country town where I wasn't familiar wasn't even that familiar with Southern, to be honest. But the A.W. Mumford, I started meeting all these men back then who played for Coach Mumford, and they held them in very high esteem.
I know.
And it was like this man here has serious impact
Yeah.
on so many young men
Yeah.
that have their that they end up in all areas of walks of life, successful in so many. And you know that was so powerful to me.
I know.
That this one man impacted thousands of young men's lives.
I know. I know.
So that had to be a wonderful feeling, because when people just hear your name, they gonna ask you automatically. You know Coach Mumford?
Well, you know, this is just, since you mentioned that, I had a couple of friends. You know, and we would go out socially or be out somewhere, and they would run across someone that they knew, but I didn't know them, and they would be introducing me. And it looked like they had to, instead of just saying, this is, where's the red?
I didn't get you.
Oh, we don't have it anymore?
Oh, she-
Okay. That's all right. I still want it.
That's okay, but Miss Mumford old enough to drink her wine
Oh,
and,
yeah,
and have this conversation.
That's her favorite.
I like that though. I like that. Shoot, this class here. This is class.
They would look like they felt that they had to introduce me as Mumford.
Because that's huge.
Yeah, but I said, look, I want, if I'm Irene, just introduce me as Irene. Now let them make the decision as to,
Thank you, man.
is this lady on the ball? Do I? Is she a nice conversational? And stop putting the Mumford name on.
It gets you to the head of the line quicker though.
I
I got some
know.
benefits, right?
Well, and you know what? I didn't want that to see. That's been something that has been in my life, all of my life.
Okay.
But I just want to be me. I just want to be who I am. Suppose I was Irene Thomas or Irene Davis. I just want you to like me want to be with me or want to enjoy my company because I'm just a decent human being and I can hold a good conversation.
And you cool too. Yeah, you want Miss Irene? Miss Irene cool, huh?
I have always I have learned how to enjoy life, and I accept people for who they are, and that's one thing that as I think I mentioned earlier, that I did learn from my parents, and that's the lifelong lesson. Treat everybody well. Accept everybody. Now I'm not talking about Ted Bundy or some well-known criminal, but just the ordinary person that you meet. Is that cat bothering you? Are you
No,
okay?
no.
A lot of people don't want to come in my
No,
house because I got cats around here. Oh,
She's being nosy.
Yes,
She's
you
being-
are.
She
got
sure is being
comfortable with
nosy.
you being
I'm
here.
surprised the
That's all
other
right,
one
that's
hadn't
all
been
right.
around
Well,
here.
he's getting ready to come on over.
Okay.
Because he's about halfway.
Okay.
So he'll probably be over here too. Being nosy.
But it's been like that. When I went to Alexandria, and of course that was during the heyday. They went like 5 straight years, national champs or whatever.
No.
And Alexandria, when they went somewhere to play a game, they were traveling by bus then, and they stopped in Alexandria at this place where this restaurant where you could get a meal, good food. I used to go there all the time because they didn't have any condos. I mean, there was no place. You had to live with a family. You had to just rent a room with a family. And fortunately, we knew people up there. But anyway, what I was starting to say is that the team was coming through Alexandria right around noontime, and they had been going through this winning streak. Everybody was just all excited about Southern winning all these national championships. And the principal, Mr. Owls, he let me off that day. I could go and meet
your dad.
Have dinner with the team.
That's the benefit. That's what I was saying.
And see, that's what it's been like all of my life. And you know, I'm proud of my father. I am definitely proud of the way he left his legacy and how intense he was. Because what I remember about Daddy was, and this was well, here too, because he had a office or little den or whatever over further on the other side of the house. But up on campus, he'd be sitting in the what they call the den. And at that time, I remember the television, and of course they didn't have nothing like big screens. They just had these little
black and white.
Yeah, but he'd have the television on, and he had a favorite pair of slippers that he would put on when he'd come home from work. And he'd be sitting there with one of these trays that was on this wrought iron thing. You know, you could eat, you could sit.
Oh, yeah,
and, yeah,
right.
you know what I'm talking about. And that's where he'd be doing his, working out his plays, X's and O's.
X's and O's.
X's and
Okay,
O's.
yeah.
I never will
Okay,
forget that. Yeah. And we used to go to the movies. When he would take time out, you know, when he would maybe be not intense with the football season, and maybe would be off season, and he wouldn't be off recruiting or something like that, and he'd take time because he would spend time with the family. It wasn't that often because he was really into his football, and I think that's why he was so successful.
Yeah, when he winning too, everybody else want some of your time.
And he used to go to, he knew Bear Bryant and some of those well-known white coaches, and they had a kind of a friendship going on during that time.
Okay,
Yeah, he would get with them.
Anytime you winning, everybody want to be in the presence of a winner.
And of course, Bear Bryant, he had made his own. He was a winning coach for whatever. Was that Alabama?
Alabama,
yeah. And Daddy used to go. They had an all-star game up in Chicago. Every I think it was in August, and he wouldn't miss that game. And one time we decided to drive. He took all of us up there, and we drove. We stopped. I think it seemed like to me it was somewhere in Tennessee. But anyway, on the way up, you know, that wasn't a straight shot. You had to stop somewhere and for the night, you know.
And you couldn't stay at any
No,
hotel.
and see, that's when, and I don't know whether my family had this green book, you know, this book that.
Yeah, the green book, right?
Yeah, I don't know whether they had one, but then, see, he knew a lot of people in different cities, and because we stopped somewhere. And we laughed about it then, but it wasn't funny. He had left the back window down. The window was left down all night with our different suitcases or whatever. You know, when you're traveling, you can't fit everything in. You know, you always take more than what you need.
Always.
You know, but nobody bothered anything. And then I remember one time we played Tennessee State. We drove up there. Now he traveled with the team, but wherever we stayed, they were friends of his, and he must have come and spent the night there because we got up the next morning, and the hostess, the lady of the house, had fixed a nice breakfast, and we enjoyed it. and we were just sitting around. We didn't just immediately leave after we ate breakfast. And they were talking, and I guess somebody in the group must have complimented the hostess on what a lovely breakfast she had fixed. And so she went on to talk about her eggs or something about the eggs. They must have said, and those your scrambled eggs were delicious. What was that in there? And she said brain. You know, they used to. That was something that I don't know whether they still do it, but they would take the brains of the cow. You know, look. You know, back in the day, the plantation people, they didn't let nothing go to waste.
No, it didn't.
That's where chitlins, that's how they got chitlins going, you know. So they would use the brain. Of course, I understand that the brain and the liver and certain parts of animals are prized in certain cultures. I don't know whether it's in our culture, in the American culture. But anyway, they said brain. That just goes to show you how your mind.
But you had eat the eggs already.
I had, look,
And they were good too, huh?
and I had eaten those eggs and enjoyed that, but I swear to goodness, when they said that was brains in there, you talking about a sick puppy. Not no, cause see, look, my mother, see, coming from Texas, and I don't know what kind of what kind of environment. But I know Margie Hendrick didn't cook no brain in her. That wasn't part of her cooking. Mother didn't cook like that, so we weren't used to that part of the animal, if I can put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And when I went to when I went to Alexandria, and I met the gentleman that I eventually married, his mother, she was a good cook. She could really cook. And they would have this. Have you heard of tongue? Did you ever?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
the cow tongue.
They had that. Well, see, I didn't want no part of that. Chitlins. There was only one person that had cooked some chitlins one time. He washed those chitlins 15 times. And I did it, and that was because when you walked in, I think he was cooking, it was at his house, because I think we were going to all watch the Academy Awards together. And his house didn't have that odor. It wasn't a pleasant odor. It wasn't like if you walk in somebody's house and they frying chicken or cooking something, say, "Ooh, that smells good."
Those chitlins don't smell good.
No, but he washed those chitlins. I'm saying 15. It was over 10. Not a whiff of anything like that would turn your stomach. Now I ate those, and they were good, but chitlins was never one of my favorites. I just wasn't brought up on that, and I make
well, you come out of Texas. You didn't know nothing about it.
Not Texas really, because the only place I've ever really known is Louisiana.
Yeah.
I don't remember nothing about Tyler, but yeah, I'm in only 3 or 4. When we came to Baton Rouge. And let's see, another thing, I'm trying to think about times when I wasn't living in Baton Rouge. Right during the war, I think it wasn't right at the beginning of the war. Now, my brother was born in 1941. So my mother took a welding class.
Your mother took a
My
welding.
mother took a welding class up on campus. They offered welding because they had the industrial arts department. So she learned how to weld. She packed my brother and me up. I never will forget, I was in 6th grade. And my 6th grade class, they knew that we were leaving, my family, we were leaving to go to Los Angeles. So they gave me a going away party. We rode that train. They had that train. They had a name for it. And she had gotten this compartment where you have the beds and everything. And that was so wonderful.
And how old were you?
Let me see. I was 6th grade. I had to have been 11.
Just you and your brother rode the train?
With her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had the compartment. It took us about 3 days to get there, I think, something like
3
that.
days to get to.
Well, I don't know why. I know it wasn't like overnight. Because it looked like we slept a couple of times in that compartment, if I'm remembering correctly.
You came back on the train?
No. She went to work in the shipyards, welding those ships.
Now, who was this?
My mother.
So she took the welding class, she went and got a job welding.
She went out to California, San Pedro, out to them shipyards out there in San Pedro, California.
Your mom went and got a job.
And she was a master welder too. That's how they classified her, a master welder. And we were out there all the rest of my 6th grade, the second half of 6th grade, and all of 7th grade. We were out there in California. And Daddy took a leave of absence from Southern. One of those years, one of those war years, they didn't have a football team. I guess that was because so many of the young men were going off to war,
So that was in the 30s or the 40s?
Well, that was in World War I. I mean, World War II. World War II, yeah.
Okay.
So he took a sabbatical from the job, came out there. That's where he got his master's from, University of Southern California. And so then when he got his master's, he went on, because we didn't stay out there, but that 6th grade half, whatever that was, 1940, my brother was about like that. And I got some pictures, and I don't know where those pictures are, but he was a little fella. And Daddy came out there, got his master's. My sister, when we left to go to California, she had already finished high school. Now, they didn't have 12th grade at that time. They added 12th grade to the high school curriculum with my graduating class from lab school. See, we would have been graduating in 1949, but they added 12th grade.
So 11th grade was the completion.
No, you had to go another year.
No, I'm saying, but 11th grade, and before that it was up to...
Oh yeah, we just went to 11th grade. And see, that's what happened, because she went to the lab school too. She went to Southern High School. And so when she finished high school, she went to Spelman for a year. But then when we went out to California, she transferred from Spelman to University of Southern California. So she got her undergraduate degree from the University of Southern California. Now that is who taught Ed Barnes. She was his art teacher, because she taught at McKinley.
So your sister taught Ed Barnes.
She was in art too, yeah. She finished in art too.
Now, but your mom took a welding class at Southern University and took a job in California.
Did.
Moved her whole family to California.
Sure did.
But she only stayed there about a year and a half.
Yeah, but see, and she wanted to stay out there, and the city of Los Angeles, they wanted Daddy to be in the program that would be connected with physical education. I don't know whether that would be like what we call BREC here, but they wanted to keep him. He could have gotten a job easily out there in California, but his heart was with something. This is like that song that the guy sang, "I left my heart in San Francisco." He left his heart in Baton Rouge. So we drove. We had a little old. I don't know whether you would be familiar with what they call a Nash, Nash. That was a car, a brand of car. Nash.
I do remember.
That's what we had.
It's a little small car.
Little old ugly car.
Yeah, I remember that little car.
Yeah, but that's what he had come out to California in, that Nash. And we packed up and came back to Baton Rouge. And I never will forget. But see, my sister didn't come back with us. She had finished college. And she didn't come back with us in the car. But Mother had packed up that back seat. And the part where your feet would go down, and she had packed that up to make it level with the back seat, so that my brother and I would have sleeping space.
Oh,
Enough space to kind of stretch our legs.
Y'all like the Beverly Hillbillies traveling back and forth, eh?
Absolutely, and we drove all the way through those, New Mexico and whatever other thing, Arizona. We stopped and spent the night in San Antonio. I never will forget that. Because the family that we stayed with, now, the father was a physician. And they had children. And they had the son, he was about my age. And that was like my first crush. I thought he was so cute, But of course, we believe in the next day, so it was just one of those passing things.
Right.
But I mean, coming back to Baton Rouge to go into the 8th grade. So I'm becoming interested in boys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Your young womanhood.
Yeah. And I was Miss Southern High that 11th year, that year that we would have graduated. They had to have a homecoming queen.
So we looking at her?
Guess who? Yeah.
So that was 1951?
Well, it was it would have been the class of 49.
49.
So it was 1949, but that football season was like 48. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
48, and then of course going into January of 49, we would have graduated in May of 49, but then they added 12th grade, so it was May of 50 that we graduated. But I was the queen that year.
You get the picture when you was the queen?
The next time you come, I'm gonna have that. I didn't know I would have had that stuff up. Yeah, I got pictures of me back there when I was. Look, I ain't crazy.
He was so you knew Miss what are they? People on Marico's.
McDonald?
Yeah.
She was one of those crossover teachers.
Right.
Because she was in. What was she in? Must have been in music or something, because it was just electives. They weren't sending any of the black faculty members if you taught math or English or civics, because those were subjects that the white students had to take.
Right.
And they just did it with electives. Like, okay, if you want to take art, if you don't mind being under this black teacher, then okay, you can go ahead on and take the course, But my classes were always full. I have so many, the year when I went to Scotlandville Magnet in 1982, they opened it as a magnet school, but then it always just been Scotlandville High. So they opened it, and that was a part of the desegregation thing, because we had plenty of white students coming up. But see, that's when they extended the interstate to go over Scotland and come around, you know, so that the whites wouldn't have to come
through the community.
Yeah.
You think they intentionally did that?
Sure.
No, not them good people. That just happened to happen that way.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, it did happen, but we got plenty. Scotlandville Magnet was a good magnet school, and I was voted teacher of the year in '87.
Okay.
And at that time, you had to do a scrapbook to present your credentials. Now I'll show you that too when next time you come, we can look through that. I mean, you know, that's just something to look through and dream about back in the day. But I mean,
you got your history. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I have. Because that's what
And I'm going to interject for a minute.
What you got to say, Miss Robin?
About her classroom. You walk
Come
up in
stand
there and look
right
like
here.
a museum in there. When the first time I went, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on in here? But that's just how talented she was. I mean, it was just, and really,
Come
really.
stand over here, Miss Robin.
Okay.
We can see you.
She really made or had that people enjoy art. My brother is very artistic. Now me, not so much. I'm more on the business. My mind works a little bit different. My brother's very creative and very artistic. He used to draw comic books. He used to make stuff up like.
Well, you know, but art is what you call that? Distinguish a culture.
Yeah.
And
that's her right
and
there.
that's who we are as a people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, a lot of people don't know that. See, art was even a part of man's existence before the written word. But a lot of people, excuse me, a lot of people don't really think about
My
that.
son gave me something to think about. Last year, he and I was having a conversation about art. If you take art away, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Music, dancing,
Yeah.
singing, drawing, all that. You take that away, what is there?
Yeah. And she was into it, and I'm gonna break away so I can finish dinner. But she was into it. I mean, that was the thing.
Another thing too with the art, it's better now because people, you got the internet, you got social media, you got people that can go to more museums. You know, it's just more open now.
Right.
But back then, a lot of students were just looking, because see, once they added that 12th grade, that meant that you have to have more units. And some of those units had to be electives.
Art.
And they would take
Yeah.
art. So they just trying to graduate.
And she did not make it easy for them. She did not.
Oh,
she did not make it easy.
She made art like it was a mandatory class.
You in a mathematics class, like you taking trig.
But you see, that's
Yeah.
what you have to do if you're gonna.
This everything behind me represents you. This is art. And that's why I say it's
right.
a beautiful. I'm glad we able to video this sitting here.
Right.
So, but how did you get into arts?
Well, you know, it's like the people that get the awards at the sports banquet. You know, it's like how does someone realize? When do you realize that you're talented in track? You know, it's just a part of it's in your DNA, and it's a part of your ancestry. Because there are other people in my family who were in art too. It's an interest. You know, if you want to always draw, or you have a tendency to want to paint. In other words, instead of your wanting to play basketball or instead of your wanting to be an astronaut. And it's just something that
Did your mom and dad recognize the art in you? Or that's something that you just eased into?
I think they knew that I had some talent, but they weren't trying to push me one way or the other.
Now, what aspect of art did you excel in?
Painting.
Painting?
Watercolor painting. That's my favorite.
Because you can create with the watercolors, didn't it?
Well, and art is a lot of it is creativity, but you've got to be able to bring out. You see, people don't think they have any creativity. I had students to, come into class. You've got different mentalities. You've got some students say, I can't draw a straight line. Well, art is not, forget the ruler. You're not trying to draw a straight line. Leave that to the mathematician or somebody, Or they'll look at a painting that's an abstract, maybe by, an artist who didn't have any particular subject matter. It was just a lot of different colors, and they would call that, I can do that. That ain't nothing but scribble scrabble. But so you got to make them realize art is, like you just finished saying so beautifully, it's a part of man's existence. Suppose you take away the culture, the music and the dance and the art from mankind. What you got? You ain't got nothing.
But what we have not done in this country is recognize that we had all those areas and don't even realize it. The music in this country, the dance in this country. I mean, you take everything. I watched LSU play Southern University last year.
Uh-huh.
I watched LSU play Grambling University this year. I've been watching LSU since the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I played for LSU.
Okay.
I've never seen LSU not play second or the last during halftime. At halftime, LSU always played last. The visitor team played first. Against Southern and Grambling, LSU bowed out and played first in Southern game and Grambling game. So what that tells me, LSU know better. You better play last. You better play first and here you get off the field and let Grambling and let Southern play last, because you're gonna get embarrassed. So other people know who we are.
Okay.
And know what that might look like if you wait to play second tier to Grambling or Southern.
Okay.
I had never seen that. And they done it 2 years in a row. So you're telling me that was a powerful statement for 2 years in a row. They never done that for nobody. At least I don't remember. I've been going to LSU games for a long time. 2 little small schools that they bowed out. Say, we gonna play first, we gonna let y'all play last. Cause something about us, ain't nobody can do it like we can do it. Huh?
You said, and you played football. You played ball.
Mm-hmm. LSU with Greg LaFleur.
Okay. Was a player there on the team named Ribisky?
Terry Ribisky. Terry left the year I got there. From second ward. Cause
look, that's why I asked you because that was Second Ward Elementary School that my first year. I was
going to ask you about it, but you was before him, so I knew you must have known his family.
Yeah, I stayed in his mother's house. That was his house, because you could only get a room with somebody,
Oh, so you stayed with the Robinski family, so he was a little boy then.
Now I don't remember him. That might have, I don't know whether that was his mother, might have been his grandmother.
Okay, because, let me see, he played for LSU up until 76.
Okay, see, I was there from 54 to 55, so that tells you right there. That's a difference of 20-some years.
Yeah, he probably was born right after that.
Yeah.
Right after that. But I know Terry quite well. He's a good guy.
But you know, we got off on that. Boy, we used to hit Maricos. That was when they had that guy. He was kind of like a little Richard Escarita. You remember Escarita?
No,
that was before your
He
time.
was like Little Richard.
Sit at that piano and wear those flamboyant outfits and everything. Yeah, he was kind of, he kind of fashioned his performances after the Little Richard
Right,
thing,
right,
you know.
right.
Did you watch the documentary on Little Richard the other night?
No, I didn't watch that.
Okay, it was on HBO. It was interesting. It was interesting, showing his life during his career and everything. You know.
You know, he was
Little
Little Richard,
Richard.
but he was a big man.
I know.
that was surprising about it.
And I and my son had asked me about him, and I said, yeah, we used to go down to Dewdrop Inn and listen to Little Richard. That was a nightclub down in New Orleans.
You used to go watch him play and do drop in?
Yeah, he was performing down there.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you another, getting back to the to Miss McDonald. Thelma McDonald. They sent her to Shenandoah. Are you familiar with
Shenandoah Elementary or middle?
I think it was elementary.
Okay.
She didn't like it. Now she said, Irene, I ain't staying. I don't like it. She didn't stay either. But I stuck it out.
So y'all was at the same time?
Yeah. See, they just said they took about 10 black teachers.
Took the best of the best. Huh?
They took, like I say, they were dealing with the electives. But they took the teachers that they knew would do the best teaching for their students. But it was always said that they sent us the poor teachers, you know, because they had to do the exchange. Send 10 blacks to white schools, send 10 whites.
Okay.
Yeah, just reverse it. And another person, I don't know whether you would know this family, but Dr. Perkins was out of LSU.
Yeah,
he was
Perkins,
a big name. Well, his wife.
She just passed.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
She just passed.
She just lived right down the street there.
Okay.
We used to talk about I wish I talked more with her. I was so sorry to hear about her passing. But I remember she stayed in her house as long as she could, and then she fell. Broke her pelvis. And that's when they knew that they, had to put her. She had just one son, one child.
Right.
And they took her. That's where my mother was, Ollie Steele Burton. I talked with her several times while she was there. I was so sorry, but she was 90. She was 96 or something like that.
Yeah, she was in the upper 90s.
But she was one of the crossover teachers, one that they sent to see. She was in music.
Now, who you remember all the teachers that?
I don't remember all of them.
All those females?
Yeah, they ain't sending them black men.
I don't know.
Be close to them teenage white gals. Let's get real. I guarantee you they were all female to begin with. Those first 3 years. Now, when they started sending more blacks, they started desegregating the faculty more so. The second art teacher that they sent to Woodlawn was a black man, Donald Thomas. His brother was the track coach, John Thomas.
John Thomas?
Yeah, that was his brother. Now Donald, his brother gave him one of his kidneys. And he did well because he left Woodlawn and became an assistant principal. You know, he went on to other positions in the school system.
So you didn't want to be a principal or nothing like that?
Who, me?
Yes.
I got my master's in that, administration and supervision. And the man who was the art supervisor, he wanted me to take over to be the art supervisor. And I look back on that, I don't know why I let Ken talk me into that. I guess I was just... But I'm glad I didn't get it, because my love was being in the classroom.
Oh, okay. You like hands-on.
But I went to the school board for an interview. You know, but I didn't get the position. But anyway, Mrs. Shade's daughter, she just had the one child.
They sent the library name after? Okay.
They sent her up to Baker because she finished in library science. So they sent her up to Baker High to be the librarian. Now, that was another one that they sent. But I can't think of any of the others. I really can't think of any of us. And I know that Miss McDonald, because we used to talk and she used to just fuss and cry. She just didn't like it at all. I think she was able to get a transfer after that first year.
Now, what was Club Marico like back then?
Popping. Popping. Yeah. It was a good time.
It's right across the street from you, so.
Well, it was right there on Harding. You know, it wasn't far. So we had a good time. We used to go across the river. Had you ever heard of Club Canal?
Oh, never heard of Club Canal.
Okay, that was another one. See,
where was that at?
Okay, you would cross the old. See, they didn't have the new bridge then.
Right.
You just had to cross right here at the old bridge, and you'd stay on 190. Maybe about 3 or 4 miles. It was on the right-hand side. It's probably, I don't know, it might be torn down.
It was like holding them all.
Well, I guess you would say so, because none of the black clubs, but that's where you had the most fun.
Yeah, the smaller club, the bigger the party.
Yeah, those old...
You was a good dancer?
I think so.
You love to dance?
Yeah.
What kind of dance y'all did?
Jitterbug.
You do no jitterbug.
Jitterbug.
You do no jitterbug.
Yeah.
You can kick up and swing around like that?
Yeah.
That was a pretty fast pace, too.
I know. Yeah. I love to dance. We used to have some good house parties, too. And I let my daughter, when she got to be 16, I think she's 16, she asked could she have a party. We were here then. We took all the furniture out of one of the family room over there so that they would have space to dance. The children, the guests would have.
So the Mumford not throw a party, I would just say.
The Tuckers did.
The Tuckers not throw a party.
I tell you, after, you see, Daddy died in April of '62. And we were here in the house, and he only had that '61 football season. That was the only football season he had. I never will forget that as the first time. He had a house full, mostly over there, but it was over here too, because this was, well, it's still the living room. But we all lived here for one while. My brother was here, because he was still in college. When Daddy died, he was down in New Orleans at a Kappa convention.
Who your daddy was?
My brother.
Your brother, okay.
Daddy walked in. My brother's wife and I was sitting in the family room. I'll never forget that day, as long as I live. He walked in from a track meet up on campus. You know that track meet they have up there?
Southern Relays?
Yeah. And he walked across the family room floor. I could hear them cleats. He had on cleats. And I just remember that because she was getting ready to pluck my eyebrows.
Your mom?
My sister-in-law, my brother's wife.
Oh, okay, then.
My husband was in the backyard cutting the grass.
Oh, you was married, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah. And my mother had gone to the grocery store with my brother's daughter. He and his wife had a little daughter, Christy, at that time. Boy, my daddy loved that little girl. She was just, and when he died, well, she had been born in June of '60. So he died, so she was just about 2. And she was with my mother. And when I never will forget, Daddy went into the bedroom, and then about 15 minutes later, he called me and asked me to bring him a glass of water. And so I got up and brought him the water. Well, he was having the heart attack then.
Oh, he had a heart attack.
Yeah. And I was worried about him. So I got his doctor on the phone to just consult with him. And in the meantime, Daddy fell back because he was sitting on the bed, and he just fell back. Still had his track clothes and whatever.
Cleats and everything on.
And
so you was right there when that happened?
I wasn't. No, when I came back from talking to Dr. Butler, he was already dead. He had fallen back on the bed.
Well, what Butler?
The doctor, the Leo S.
Leo
Butler.
Butler?
Yeah,
Oh, Dr.
that
Leo
was named
Butler.
after
Okay.
him. Yeah.
So you were speaking to Dr. Butler because you sensed something wasn't right?
Yeah. And I was wanting him to tell me whether or not should I take him to the hospital. I wasn't really sure because to me I could tell it's something, serious, something going on here. So I was.
So when you went to the bed, when he asked for the water, and you looked at him, you knew something wasn't right.
I just had a sense that
right.
It was something that probably needed further
attention.
Right. Yeah. But I don't think there was anything could have been done at that time. I don't think even if we had been, and I don't think they really had like you could. Now you can, when you sense something going on, you can call 911 and they're here, right here. But it just happened in a matter of minutes with him. But see, he had heart issues, but he kind of kept it under cover. And he was a heavy smoker.
He said he was about 64?
He was 62.
62?
He would have been 63 in November.
So he died in April.
He died in April.
So now, when you sensed there's something going on with my dad, did you tell him he's going to call Dr. Butler, or you decided to do that?
No, I didn't stop to talk to him. I just handed him the water and ran out to the phone. Ran out and said,
because he was breathing hard, hyperventilating.
I don't know. It was just something about
the look.
Him coming in and sitting on the bed and then calling me for a glass of water. That was just unusual. It was just something about it that just didn't sit well with me. It just, how you have a premonition or something,
right.
And so that's when I immediately got on the phone. And then I remember when mother pulled up under the carport. I ran to the door back on the other side. That's where you can open the door, and it's the carport right there. And I said, Mama, come quick. I think something is happening with Daddy. That's what I said. And I don't know, it looked like the news just spread all over the neighborhood. I remember the neighbors down here on the corner looked like he was the music man at the time, Mr. Davis. He was down here. Looked like everybody just rushed to try to see if they could do, I guess, resuscitation or whatever they were doing, you know, at the time. Being able to do CPR or something.
Now, when you called, when your mom drove up, you didn't go back into the bedroom to see that he had already fell over?
I think he had already fallen back, but I didn't touch him or try to revive him or anything. I just immediately, when I seemed like I heard her pull up or something, and I just ran right quick. But you know, I'm not really sure. That was 62. I was really, at that time, I was frantic. So I'm not sure that whether or not he may have just been showing signs of distress, you know, but he wasn't holding his heart or anything like that. Looked like he was. But when I handed him that water, I don't know, it just looked like it was something that just told me something is not right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he passed at home.
At home. At home.
So, and he was still working and coaching at Southern University.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, so that was major. That impacted the whole
my goodness.
community and the whole state.
They had so many. They had to have the funeral in the gym. There was no funeral home or no church that could accommodate the number of people. That attended his funeral.
So it's like he lied in the state back before there was even such thing, huh?
Pretty much.
He lied in the state.
Much. Yeah. And I tell you, that was a shock. And we had just moved into this house, like I say. And so, but you know, the thing about it is that we were all living here. My husband was in school. My brother was in school. Well, it looked like everybody was in school. I was teaching at McKinley Junior then. That's when I had come back from Alexandria. But I didn't have any children. My daughter was born in 63. None of my children ever got a chance to meet him. And my mother was still teaching. She wasn't welding then. She had gotten a job in the school system. She was over here in the school, one of these schools over here, north. It's right on Rosenwald, if you're familiar with Scotland.
Okay. So she left her real job and played around in the school. And that is pretty interesting.
Yeah. And that meant that we were all here at the house without him. They had just moved into this house. And he didn't have time to really enjoy it. But we all hung in here.
So this house been here for 63 years? No, 61 years, 62 years. Something like that.
Yeah. And after she retired, my mother, she would go, Taylor. That was the name of the town where you remember when you said Taylor?
Around Austin?
Near Austin.
Near
Austin.
Austin.
Taylor, Texas. This popped in my mind. Just like when we went up to South Bend for the the Hall of Fame program and ceremony. I was the spokesman. They had all of the inductees to do a show where they recorded and they televised it or did something, you know. Everybody got up. I remember this guy, Marcus Allen. He was one of them.
Oh, the great Marcus Allen.
And Doug Williams was another one. So I was the spokesperson. I was up there talking about Daddy and what because in addition to being the coach and the athletic director, he taught anatomy, he taught kinesiology.
Oh, he had all that going on?
Yeah, he was something. He was something. And I was saying all of that to the audience. It was a huge audience of people that were there at this show, this morning show. And I was talking about, and Dean Jones, were you familiar with Dean Jones? He became he was a basketball player. He was on Southern's basketball team when he was a student here at Southern. Okay, Dean Jones, he became the athletic director. He and his family lived over here on Harding Boulevard. But anyway, he sort of helped a lot with the funeral arrangements and everything. And when I was talking about it, his name just went completely out of my mind. I couldn't think of Dean Jones, and I just had to I said, I said, his name has gone completely out of my mind. And then about 10 minutes later, it popped in my mind, and that's what I said. I said, oh, that was Dean Jones. The audience just sort of laughed. They thought it was so funny, you know. But I wasn't talking really off of notes. Because when I start talking about my father, or, you know, like I'm talking to you now, I don't really need notes.
No, it's already,
in a way,
it's already.
You know. But maybe it could have been more structured. But look, a white lady was in the elevator afterwards, and my sister and I were going either up to our room. I think this was the hotel. She said, oh, I enjoyed your speech so much. Oh, and you're so articulate. You know, like, well, black folks ain't supposed to be articulate, you know, but...
That ain't what she meant.
Well, now all I could say was thank you. Thank you so much. Well, at least she was friendly, you know.
Right. What you got to go through,
Lord, I tell you. But it's you know, in any other question, there's so much I guess I could talk about.
No, I tell you what. I enjoyed this so much, and you're going 2 hours and 20 minutes. So we're going to shut this down. I'm going to come back again. I want you to think about it and gather.
I'll get some pictures and everything together.
And because we can do so many more things with this here. Because you done gave me a lot of great information. But to tell the story about the history of your dad, but the losing of your dad, I didn't anticipate that. So that's a whole lot. But I want to really come back because I want to capture your. That's just the start of your story. Because once your dad left, you had another 50, 60 years to talk about. So yeah. I want to be able to capture that next time. And that's okay with you?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah. I want to thank you for being on Count Time. Thank you for being there. Allow me to come into your lovely home and share this moment with you. And I'm just really pleased and excited. And thank you for being part of Count Time. And next time we're going to have part 2.
All right. That sounds great. That sounds great. Yeah.
The part 2 of Irene, Elizabeth.
Mumford.
No, with Tucker. Irene, Elizabeth Tucker, Mumford. All right. We're gonna get part 2 of your story.
Okay. All right. That'll work.
What you thought about today?
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love to remember about my family, about my father, and what legacy he left. Because he wasn't. He was involved. He wanted to win. He was a winner. He was a winning coach. But he was preparing these young men
For something greater.
for life. And what they would do, because your span of time for playing any sport, I don't care what it is. Tiger Woods can attest to that. I mean, you don't never know what's going to happen, because I think he'd still be perhaps going strong if he hadn't had the accident.
Right.
But your body, the human body, can only take so much of the rough stuff. So your span for being at the top of your game is short. So you got to consider what you're going to do with the rest of your life. That's the way I look at it. That's what he was trying to instill in his players. You may be Odie Pose, you may be the runningest back or the runningest, smartest quarterback, but you got to project yourself 10 and 15 years later and into the rest of your life. You're not going to be on that field in that huddle, you know. And that was his philosophy. That was his philosophy of his football career. And I don't care where he went, he was a winner. Even that short time he was at Texas Christian College. And I've got some pictures of him as a young man. I'm gonna pull all this stuff.
Yeah, you gotta have all that next time.
Yeah.
And what is your name?
Robin Tucker.
Wilson or
No.
Robin Tucker?
Robin Tucker.
Okay, and who are you?
I am Irene Tucker's daughter,
The only child?
the only daughter.
Only
I
daughter?
have a younger brother.
All right.
Who was
Yes.
that, who answered the door? That's my son. That's
All right.
Dana.
So it's us two.
All right, so we're going to talk about that. I just want to get that right.
Oh,
Okay.